Welcome back to Glenn's Vintage Radio on YouTube. Today I have for you an Imperial 57A from 1934. You can see the cabinet wasn't in bad shape at all, and the reason why I bought it was I thought it looked pretty nice. It was fairly unique. It's a fairly small radio, and it looked like a nice little puzzle to jump into. Came without any knobs, which is unfortunate, but I was able to find some what I think are period correct knobs that made it look all right in the end. So yeah, there was some flaking finish on it that I decided to replace or repair, and after a bit of work, I think it turned out all right. There is the final refinished radio with the new knobs on it. Side view. So I think it turned out pretty well, and it's a pretty sharp little radio. It's very small, less than a foot wide, and maybe about 6-8 inches tall. So when I got it, it's a little hard to identify exactly what radio was in this cabinet, because these three tubes matched an Imperial 57A diagram that I was able to find, or schematic that I was able to find on the internet, and this tube were wrong. I think this one was a 25Z4 that somebody had wired in here, and you can see where they changed out the tube base for it. And this one, I forget what it was, but it was in the wrong place as well. So that mystery I had to resolve. And once I got to work on it with the proper schematic, away I went. So in the end, this turned out to be a 25Z5 rectifier tube that had to be put in here. And then this base was replaced and wired up for the 42 tube that actually belonged there, which I believe is an output tube. Here you can see this is the one resistor that was basically wire wrapped around an asbestos board. And then had another dog bone resistor tacked onto it to try to get the proper resistance. And obviously something with that whole idea went totally wrong. Probably this rectifier tube behind this one that they had installed in here didn't help the situation much. And this thing looks like it got pretty warm at times. So all of that mess was replaced. I put in the proper tube in the proper spot, put a new base in here, put a fuse in here, and you can tell it's kind of tight quarters, but I got it all in there. Added a thermistor in here for a slower startup of the tubes, and in place of that crazy wire wound asbestos resistor, I put this IN 5408 in here diode, and that was just magic. It seemed to do exactly what I needed it to do in place of that 150 ohm resistor somehow. And the radio runs nice and cool. And in place of a 40 ohm resistor that you'll see in a minute here, I put this 20 ohm back to back with another 20 ohm on the other side of this terminal strip in series to get to the 40 ohms that the radio called for as well. This one lead of this transformer was connected to nothing, and this was just left hanging. So anyway, after again getting hold of the schematic and doing the work I needed to understand what was going on, I was able to find a home for all these wires, and get them in the right place and make the radio functional again. So here's a side view of the other side. Not much going on there. And this is the bottom with all the stuff in it. That's this is this 40 ohm resistor that used to be in there. It was another wire wound thing that had been broken off and actually sprung the wire and puked it all over the chassis of the radio. Probably not a good idea to plug any of that in and have electricity flow through that. And there's the old caps, some of the electrolytics that had been replaced in the past that needed to go, and a melted mess of other things in here, and other old capacitors and such that needed to be replaced. So they've all been done. Some more views of the bottom. There's more of the work that had been done. You can see pretty much everything in the bottom here. All the resistors, all the capacitors have been replaced. You can see some labeling I have there on some transformers. I just labeled all these leads and tried to make sure that they had found their proper home according to the schematic. And most of them were in the wrong place, or yeah, it was just a disaster, really. But anyway, that's why I tackle these things. It's a puzzle, and it's just fun to try to make them work. And you can see here I added a 3.5 millimeter jack, so you can play other devices through the radio if you want, including what I like to use, a Bluetooth receiver, so that I can play music from my phone or my laptop to it as well. More view of the bottom. You can see better some of these labels I made on the schematic that I'll show you later. You can see how that was done. This is something I did to replace a 1-volt bias cell / battery that used to be in here, or should have been in here. There was no evidence it had ever been in here when I got to this radio. So I replaced it with this 680K resistor and this capacitor in series that I've found works well to replace some of those bias cells. So you can see a small space, but a lot of work. And this is the schematic. It has, again, there's the labels that I had marked on the bottom match what I have on here. And I wrote in all the voltages on here so that anybody who's interested can follow it. And this is what I saw on the radio when it was finished. The radio does work, so I can only assume for the most part it's correct. Here again is this bias cell replacement that I did, and over here you can see where I added the fuse, thermistor, and on the hot side for the switch, and over here is where I added the IN5408 in place of that I think I said 150 ohm resistor. It was a 128 ohm resistor. There's the dial face, some of the operating instructions, and this is kind of fun here because it says, under no circumstances remove the back of the chassis, I think I meant to be of, without first removing the plug from the light socket. So I think back in the day, we've probably all seen movies where people have an iron plugged into a socket in a light, where a light bulb used to be hanging from the ceiling, in order to plug an electrical appliance like a radio or, again, an iron into it, before people had electrical outlets installed in their home. So that's kind of interesting. And then I think this thing used to have a back on it because it says here about how you need to remove the chassis. You have to remove the back with the screws. And I've seen no evidence of a back for this, and it's probably something I could make up if I wanted, but anyway, no desire to at the moment. So that is just kind of a quick overview of the work that had been done on here, and now we'll go and see the radio playing. So let's hear the radio play. Simple functions, on, off, and the dial. Takes a minute or two for it to warm up, largely because of the thermistor in it. You can tell by the size of my hand here against the radio that it's a pretty small unit, very compact. I'll just go down the dial a little bit here, see if we can all pick up. It's morning on a stormy November day. There's a Chicago radio station there, and I'm in Ontario.
Number, it's 1-800-823-9. Keep an eye for some possible slippery conditions after the light snow and colder temperatures.
And it also has a 3.5 millimeter jack. I have a Bluetooth device here connected to my laptop, and there it plays quite nicely through this little radio. So there you have a 1934 Imperial 57A. Thanks for being here, and hope to see you again next time. I have probably another 10 radios that I'm working on right now. If you look at some of my other videos, you'll see a collection of cabinets that I redid this summer for the radios that I plan to finish over the winter and post videos for between now and spring. So again, thank you for being here. Glenn's Vintage Radio on YouTube. Please subscribe.